So this session will be recorded, like the voice said. Like I said, we'll be in English, but our official language is Franglais, so really don't hesitate. Like a lot of us are actually more comfortable in French, so it's like half-half, I'd say. Raise your hand on Zoom. If you guys now know how to do that, you can have little reactions at the bottom where you can raise your hand if you have questions. You can also use the chat, or you can just unmute and say, hey, I have a question. That works too. And I put this at the end as well. But Niamh, if you could just put it in the chat as well, so people can maybe copy paste. These are both the email addresses if ever you have questions afterwards. So this is for the Startup in Residence team, and this is for the FinTech Cadence team. So again, I'll put them back at the end, and Niamh will put them in the chat, but could be useful to have them close if you plan on applying. So agenda, we have a few items. So we booked an hour, but usually it lasts for half an hour, and then we leave the floor for you guys to ask your questions. But basically, we're gonna try to tell you a bit like who's doing what in this call, because we understand that it can be confusing between Desjardins Startup in Residence and FinTech Cadence. So we're gonna cover all of that. We're gonna tell you more about the program, because of course, if you're selected for this call for application, it means you're in the program, right? So it's kind of the end goal. So you should know more about this. We're going to talk about this specific call for application because we run a few a year. And then we're going to cover more logistics. So like important dates and the next steps that you guys will have to take. So who's who? Startup in Residence. I put very basic bullet points. It's more than that, but like, basically, Startup in Residence runs the program. The call for application is for us to find startups for our program. So we make the decisions, we run the program. FinTech Cadence are the lovely people who help us quite a bit with the application. They have a great network. They've been partners for years now. We love them. And they're also present as experts in our interview process. I'll talk about later in the presentation. In the meantime, I think it'd be interesting to know a little bit more about what FinTech Cadence does. So Maria, if you want to tell us a little more.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for your interest in the cybersecurity call for applications. My name is Maria Ponte. As I already said, I'm head of programs at FinTech Cadence. I think we have exchanged emails with some of you. Nice to meet you here. FinTech Cadence, for those that don't know what we do, we are a nonprofit that supports the FinTech ecosystem. Our support is rooted in 3 pillars, which are education, support to startups, and as well collaboration with financial institutions as Desjardins to solve innovation problems or challenges. We are super excited to be partnering with Startup in Residence for the 2nd edition of this program that, as you know, aims to support those cybersecurity startups that are bringing innovative solutions in the space. And our contact information is there. If you have any questions about the FinTech Cadence, what we do about the startup the program that we have with Startup in Residence, Cybersecurity Call, just don't hesitate to reach out, and hope you enjoy the session. Thank you. You're muted, Sarah.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks. Last thing I do want to mention, so it's not, well, it's here. You see the little powered by Desjardins. You see it at the top of every slide, which is why we didn't like add the logo a 3rd time on the slide. Desjardins, so a word on that. We're Desjardins, but we're not, but we are. I don't know if that makes sense. So we are part of Desjardins, but we sort of run in our little parallel universe. We're a team of 4. We'll talk more about that. So we are in that ecosystem, but we're a bit different. So keep that in mind. This is very important. But yeah, basically, let's talk more about what the program is. So Oh yeah, before I forget, community partners. So we have people helping us throughout this call for application. The Rogers Cybersecurity Catalyst, Propolis, and Cyber Echo. So if some of you, I think some of you might come from these guys actually. So great, nice to see you. But we just want to do a little shout out to them because they are helping in the process. So there you go. So now, what is Startup in Residence? So basically, 8th-month acceleration program. And we pick startups in different fields, but this time we're really going to focus on cybersecurity. We've put the little logos of our different residents over the year. So if you recognize any, or if you want to chat about that, happy to do so. But yeah, basically backed by Desjardins, but I'm going to say this very often. Okay, so because every time we get people who apply who are really interested in like doing business with Desjardins, and this is not what this program is for. So if that's the goal, it's going to be disappointing for you. So you're going to hear me mentioning a few times. It's because we have PTSD from people really insisting on that. So I just want to make it really, really clear. We love Desjardins, they're our buddies, but we're very, very different. And yeah, we run like a startup ourselves. We're a team of 4. You can see Eric and Neve in the little corner there. I'm going to show a picture, actually. You're going to see them better this way. So yeah, you don't have to read all of that, but that's the whole team. There's no one else. And that's General Tao also. But there's no one else. So we do everything from recruiting to, running the program, to investing, to bringing our experts together, to doing events for a startup. So what you see is what you get. There's no one else. So we kind of understand the startup life a little bit. So that's us, and that's mainly us blocking the Notman hallway, for those who are familiar with it. And then a few key items about the program, interesting numbers, I think. So I'm not going to go in order. You're going to read this, obviously, but so 8th-month program, the reason we do 8 months as opposed to, let's say, 3 or 4, like most acceleration programs do, is we try to be as efficient and as impactful, but maybe a little less disruptive. So hence a bit more time to do it. I was also recently told by Allens to really insist on the personalized part, because even though they did the program and they enjoyed it, they didn't realize when they got in how personalized it was. So there's no group things here. It's 100% adapted to you if you are selected. So we do like this little onboarding process, and we do diagnosis with only you and a bunch of experts, and we build a plan for only you, right? So we don't take a bunch at a time. We take 2 or 3, max 10, 12 in a year. So we really try to go for the high touch and quality stuff instead of the volume here. We have a team of experts, as I mentioned, they're here. We have 50, but we have like a 10, 15 maybe that are really core that we really, really love to work with, and the rest that we bring once in a while. Really skilled and experienced people that are worth our while, we think. Now that 250K, I do want to mention, so it's a potential investment once you're selected, right? So it's not a guarantee. We do want to mention that. We give ourselves 2 or 3 months of programming with you to decide if we want to invest or not. I do want to mention the terms, and I'm sure it's going to come in the questions afterwards, but we're really happy to say it. So if you want to grab a pen, now's the time, and maybe Neve will put in the chat too. But it's convertible debt. Okay, so it's a default offer. We have a standard offer. Unless you come with us with a different term sheet, then we can talk. But default offer is 250 up to convertible debt, 8% interest, 24 months maturity, and 20% discount. And the valuation cap that we put by default is 4 million. Again, unless you come with something different on a term sheet. So we can chat about that in the question sections afterward, but I just want to put it out there so you guys, and if it's not terms that you're familiar with, it's okay also. We are used to explaining them. And also, that's far down the road, but we also have the possibility to reinvest. So do follow-ons for another 250. So that's the investment. The 50K, that's guaranteed on selection. So once you are selected, you do get the money. It's a little way to boost your momentum in your activities. Program consists of, over these 8 months, we pay up. So we pay our experts, right? And it's up to 100 hours of paid coaching, often a little more because our experts are very generous and don't bill all of their time most of the time. And like I was saying, we do a few calls for applications a year. We do love cybersecurity. We do love ESG. We do love fintech. We're a financial institution, but we also look at all sorts of different industries. You know, if it's an interesting startup, we'll take a look, basically. And the personalized part I mentioned already. So next one. These, to give you an idea, are the past calls that we did. So we did a health tech one. So these guys are finishing up pretty much these days. We did a pay tech where we took 3, and we did ESG. So these guys are just starting. So as you can see, it's every sort of 3-4 months, we take another 2 or 3 in, and we really take the time to onboard and work with them, and then we can take another 2 or 3. And it gives you an idea also of what kind of interests we have. So it's always geared towards Canadians, right? Because this program is for Canadian companies, so logically. But it's mainly to do with the biggest challenges in our society. So like digital transformation in healthcare, and then facilitate the lives of Canadians now that we don't use cash money, like paper money anymore. Stuff like that, you know. This call that you're applying to is in cybersecurity, as you know, I hope. And it's about helping individuals and small businesses to deal with cyber attacks. And we especially like solutions that will deal with ransomwares. It is not a limitation that we put, it's just a specific interest because they like that topic at Desjardins, but we will consider anything that is related to cybersecurity. So don't stress out if you have nothing to do with ransomwares. We're still interested. And yeah, we listed a couple of areas of focus, but again, not limited to this. It's just inspiration for people applying, basically. Eligibility criteria. So you probably have seen these either on the application form or on the website or on our posts, but I do want to run through them just to make sure. So we do need someone who's in Canada, positive impact. I think you all do that. Have at least a working prototype. So of course, we use judgment with that, but I think we're in a field where prototype is realistic. So sometimes in health tech, we'll disregard that sort of thing, but I think in this area, it kind of works. I've raised less than 1 million in dilutive funding. So sometimes people misread that one. They think they have to have raised a million already. That's not the case. The reason for this is we think we can have the most impact and help people the most when they have not gone through that process already. So that's part of the stuff that we bring. So if you've done it completely, like a couple of times already, we can still help, but you know, we don't think it's going to be as great as a partnership as it could be. We like having at least 1 person full-time on the business. This is just because, you know, we're going to send a bunch of experts. It's a serious process and we want you to be able to deal with it. By the way, we didn't put it as a criteria, but same for solo founders. If you're a solo founder, show us how your employees support you and are able to pick up some slack, because trying to run a program and then your company and your life all by yourself is kind of a challenge sometimes. So just show us that you have people around you, basically. Strong growth potential. Well, that's a given. You know, if we're going to invest, it's VC stuff. So you have to be able to be, well, You have to be VC backable and be able to show potential growth eventually. Have a founding member or management person interested in hands-on coaching, and to have IT. Okay, so basically we're going to coach you both on human and business side. So ideally you'd be interested in both of these aspects. But I think it's especially in this field interesting if one of the co-founders or early employees is also in tech and has that knowledge, since we're doing tech, kind of an important bit. And have applied. Yeah, if you didn't apply, we're not going to consider you. I think that's a given. So these are the criteria. I wanted to touch a bit more on what we look for, like past the criteria. So let's say you fit. Like I was saying, we want open-minded people who have VC backable businesses, right? So that's what we're doing. Ideally, we're picking people that we're really bullish on and that eventually will want to invest in, right? So that's what we're doing. We want founders who are really looking to do the work and build that sort of relationship with their coaches and work with them efficiently. And it sounds like a basic thing to do, but we've met people who weren't in that mindset. So now we mention VC path, again, repeating myself a little bit. Again, if your goal is to sell to Desjardins, you will be disappointed second time. Maybe we should do a count of like how many times we say it. Anyway. And this is a question that comes often. So what are the things that we look for in the applications? So once we decide that your application is legit, what do we look at? We look at the team, different experience and skills and what you bring to the table, your market and your strategy to go to the market. So is it big enough to support the growth? Do you have an expansion strategy that fits with that growth? The product and tech, obviously, is it sound? Does it work? Is it scalable? The traction or external validation, as you may want to call it. So it doesn't have to be sales or revenues. We don't really care for that, but any form of external validation, in other words, people who want your stuff, is good. It can be pilots, it can be waiting lists, it can be sales, just show us. And I mentioned because oftentimes in decks, we read about the company and we can't even figure out if they're in market already or not. So there you go. Now you know, we want to know if you're in market or not. And the general fit with the program. So are you at a stage and do you have the skill set, or do you have the problems that we can solve, or like, just generally speaking, do we think we can do something together, basically? So I hope that helps a little bit. The next steps or dates. So applications close on March 9. So ideally, if you wanted to submit your application and you haven't already, you still have a bit of time. If you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to Maria with that cyber@FinTech Cadence that I'll put back on the screen soon. She can help with that. By the way, we understand that sometimes the form is a bit annoying. So if you are one person who is annoyed by the form, ask Maria for the Word version. So you can fill it out and then just copy paste, and it makes it easier for everyone. We are going to select. So usually we receive between, let's say, I don't know, 40 to 80 applications. We are going to pick 12 in these applications to move forward with, so that we're going to spend a little more time on. Usually that involves an interview. So this is what you see here. So during the month of April, if you are selected, we're going to do a 1-hour interview with you guys. It's usually 45 minutes with you and some experts and us. And 15 minutes where you can go, but we debrief on whatever you presented. And that helps us just, it's for us to ask all the questions, understand your company more, and make a sound decision at the end. If we liked what we saw, we can also, but not we can, we will do a sort of very light due diligence, just so we know what we're getting into. Basic things. It usually takes, I don't know, 10 minutes for people to fill. It's a few documents and a few questions, yes or no. And then we'll follow up if we need to. And then we make our final selection by mid-May, and ideally program starts in June, early June. So these are the main dates, and I believe that either us or Maria is going to put stuff in your calendar as soon as possible if you are selected for the interview, so you know in advance and you can pick a spot, and for the kickoff session and all of these things. One thing that I've seen companies sort of have trouble with, sometimes you guys are founders, right? So you're really busy, and answering emails is not always your priority. So sometimes we have short windows to make decisions. So please keep an eye out for like Maria and us, just for the length of the process. It would be really appreciated. And I think that's it. So again, I put these addresses here, and I think Neve already put them in the chat anyway.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Jeff Pledger from Cyber